Sickle cell disease is a group of genetic blood disorders that have one thing in common: the presence of the sickle cell gene that is responsible for the sickle cell genotype, which causes sickling of red blood cells.
Genotypes are actually different from blood groups. Blood groups could be A, B, AB, or O, with a positive or a negative resource factor in each case.
The blood genotypes could be AA, AS, AC, or the sickle genotypes SS, SC, SD, SE, SF, SO, and S thalassemias.
Genotypes are products of genes. Genes contain DNA. DNA are protein codes that make other proteins which help our bodies function as a whole.
One of the most important proteins in the body is hemoglobin, a protein found exclusively in red blood cells, which gives these cells their unique shape and is responsible for carrying oxygen around the body.
When abnormal copies of genes are inherited from both parents at the time of conception, abnormal genotypes and abnormal hemoglobins result. So sickle cell is not something you contact like a flu or an infection. It's not something you acquire as you grow up. It's something you are given to by your parents. It's something you are born with.
One might not have the sickle cell genotype, but might have the straight, also known as AS or AC genotype. Medically, either case is significant. Nature is the genetic makeup or identity of an individual. For those who have the sickle cell genotype, this translates to abnormal hemoglobins only. People with sickle cell disease are not disabled. It is not a disability.
Nurture is the influence of environment on an individual. It could be physical or psychological.
The physical environment of a sickler is all that he or she manifests body-wise, and top on that list is anemia. Anemia is simply a blood hemoglobin level that is below normal for that age and gender. It is important to note that anemia in sicklers usually lasts for as long as they are alive.
People with sickle cell could have growth differences like a leaner body build, lesser weights, shorter heights, and growth differences.
Puberty is delayed in both sexes. Females may not see their menses as late as age 20 when compared to others, and males may take even longer to hit sexual maturity.
They could have this constant yellowing of the eyes called jaundice, which is as a result of the frequent breakdown of cells. They could have a larger liver, a larger malfunctional spleen, and all this gives their bellies a somewhat protruded appearance.
Psychological environment refers to the perceived self-image of a sickler. By this we mean functional capacity, how sicklers see themselves and how others see them.
There is no record of sickle cell being a cause of mental retardation. Sicklers have the capacity to function mentally like their peers. Some of them even do better academically. However, the psychological effect of the disease is manifested basically as fear. Fear from what they have suffered and fear from what they are suffering. Fear of the unknown, fear of discrimination and societal labeling. So today, many sicklers are in hiding because there's a stigma associated with the condition.
It is important to note that one's personality eventually emerges from one's nature and life's experiences, in this case, nurture. That is why in the end, many sicklers turn out below optimal. They cannot see life beyond their dependence, talk more of standing out or making a difference in their lives or in the lives of others.
In as much as the disease could present from something very mild to something severely disabling, majority of their eroded self-confidence is psychologically oriented. The sickle cell cycle is a vicious cycle. A vicious cycle is a cycle of nature. It's a cycle created by nature and spawned by nature. It goes on and on and on and seems to be without control.
This happens when carriers of the sickle cell trait produce offsprings who are either carriers or manifest the sickle cell disease. These offspring go on and partner with those who are also carriers, resulting in a generation of offspring with fractions who are sicklers and fractions who are carriers.
So, how do you stop the course of nature, or how do you change the course of nature? Simple, by knowing and by choosing.
Genetic counseling is the process by which individuals who are at a risk of a disease that may be hereditary are advised of the probability of developing and transmitting it, and by ways in which it may be prevented or ameliorated.
The aim of genetic counseling is not to tell people what to do or what choices to make, but to provide sufficient information and support in order to help them make their own decisions.
In genetic counseling, we do not judge success or failure based on outcome. All that is required is that the individuals affected are made known of the probability ratios and stakes. Whether or not they can handle it is entirely up to them. This illustration shows that if two people who have sickle cell trait marry each other, in each pregnancy, the child has a 1 in 4 chance of having the normal genotype AA, a 1 in 2 chance of having the genotype AS, and a 1 in 4 chance of having the genotype SS. This is already a high-risk relationship. The same scenario plays out if one partner has AS and the other has AC genotype.
If one parent already has the SS genotype and the other has the AS genotype, the chances of replicating abnormal and carrier states is 50-50. This is a very high-risk relationship.
So, the right decision on what genotypes future partners should have with regards to reproductive behavior is that which completely avoids the replication of SS genotypes and minimizes the replication of carriers. In essence, all cases of sickle cell genotypes or carriers are compatible with AA genotypes only.
Sicklers require a comprehensive system of care. By that we mean that attention should not only be given to the pain or the crisis alone when it occurs, but to the individual as a whole.
Experts advocate a multidisciplinary level of care with adequate referral system and not just stopping at the level of support centers or support groups.
The primary health physicians, the pediatricians, hematologists, ophthalmologists, dietitians, fertility experts, orthopedic surgeons, plastic surgeons, counselors, everyone has a role to play in the management of sickle cell disease.
The goal here is to link each support center to specialist availability. Most support centers, at sites being poorly funded, do not have a steady access to health specialists. Even if a crisis is well managed in such centers, complications are usually not.
If there's a stroke or a leg ulcer or a bad hip, or if crisis becomes too frequent, the management of a sickler has to go aggressive and beyond the routine. That's when specialists are needed. Blood therapy has been indicated in the management of sicklers worldwide. We are not suggesting that every sickler needs to be given blood every now and then to survive. Ideally, a sickler who is well taken care of does not require any form of blood transfusion, regardless of the constant state of anemia.
What we are concerned about is the steady state hemoglobin level. The steady state is not just a crisis-free period, but a period of complete wellness. A sickler might be crisis-free, but then undergoes some stress or pick up an infection which causes sickling of the red cells. When the cells get sickled, they easily get destroyed, and when this happens, the steady state hemoglobin starts falling gradually until a resulting crisis. That is why every sickler should have a steady state that is monitored.
Blood therapy is generally indicated when this hemoglobin level falls below 5, regardless of the clinical status of any individual, particularly sicklers. There is a challenge. Sometimes blood is not available at the donor centers or hospital facilities when this blood is needed. It takes a culture of healthy individuals learning to donate blood every now and then to curb the relative lack of blood supply in these facilities. In Nigeria today, so much has been unsaid and undone about sickle cell disease. The relative increase in the prevalence of the condition is already a threat to the future of many families. We don't have to wait any further. The time to talk is now. The time to act is now.
Anyone watching this today can decide to take a stand against the thriving ignorance, lack of care, and stigmatization towards people living with sickle cell disease.